really just Kentucky and Missouri. I would not have minded at all if one of those was Florida or Tennessee. Honestly, I was really bummed that we didn't get either of those on the schedule.
You didn't think we were going to be discussing this much football this early in the summer, did you? Like, it's a lot.
It never stops.
It truly never stops. But, we feel like we get these little breaks here and there. I thought I was getting a break this past week. Nope, that was not the case. What we're going to talk about, though, is the news that was already kind of previously announced. We knew was coming. The SEC was going to reveal its schedules for 2024, officially the first season with Texas and Oklahoma into the mix. Before we even get into what Auburn takes away from this, let me just say I am so glad this year that they decided we're going to announce this in the summer when nothing else has happened, because the last couple of times they've announced it like in October when football season's in full swing. And so it's already kind of like another thing to try to lump in with all the other coverage. So from a commentator's, standpoint, thank you. Please.
Yeah.
Thank you for the break. And we needed something to talk about this summer. But I will briefly give you the rundown, and then I want some Austin commentary on it for 2024. And this is not the dates or anything, and we're just discussing really SEC opponents. And we can throw the non-conference in there if you'd like. But for the SEC opponents that were announced for Auburn, for home, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, and away, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, and Missouri. So when I look at that list, Austin, there's a couple of big talking points, but I want you to open us up with your thoughts about Auburn SEC schedules for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I was pretty pleased. I think, before we get into it, you were touching on when they release it. I'm never, ever, ever fully surprised by what the SEC network can turn into a primetime television show,
isn't it?
Other conferences just drop their schedules at 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning.
Right. Can we just dispense with this SEC is not keen talk? I mean, we garner a primetime show about our SEC schedule drops. Let's end it there.
Here's the graphic. If I'm the Big Ten, here's their schedules. Have at it. No, we love to make fun of the moniker. It just means more. But I mean, what were the ratings like on this show? I can't imagine as they were unveiled. All that said, I was watching.
One thing too. I appreciated the way they did it. Let's do Oklahoma and Texas first.
Yeah,
like they're the new guys. Everybody's interested in them. I don't know that going alphabetical was the best choice. I loved it as an Auburn fan, but you know who didn't love it? I'm sure that the ratings went at the end as soon as Vanderbilt came up. So I felt so bad for them. Like, nobody's going to pay attention to them. Anyway, that was just something that I thought about.
I stopped watching after, I don't know. It was on, but I mean, I didn't care after Auburn went.
Right.
So, yeah, you're probably right. They probably should have mingled it in there a little better. Anyway, Auburn's opponents, I think the big thing that is we knew Auburn would probably be going to Alabama. They stay on the home and away flip-flop schedule. They're still going to Georgia. I think that was everyone was hoping that would stay the case, but to have it confirmed, that's a big deal to keep the Deep South oldest rivalry, as well as keep it on the home and away trend that it is. Wouldn't have minded if maybe we flip those and have a home and away again, but I think that would have required us going over there.
I would have done it. I would have done it in a heartbeat.
Just to get it back. I know. I would love maybe one week for us to talk about that. I just don't know why that happened. Like, I love that we got 2 home games in a row from 2012 to 2013, but I don't understand why. I have no idea how that happened the way it did, but
it's probably going to change after 2024. That's you and I are going to be talking about this again in a year when we finally get to the new thing with 2025, because this is not a permanent situation. This is just to get us to 2025.
Yeah, we'll be talking about it for sure on episode 98. But as far as, and I'll be coming up with a player for that, which is for this one's Blake Burkhalter and Tony Richardson. By the way,
worked it in. I love it.
It was really. I was been thinking about it for the past 20 minutes. Anyway. The biggest thing, though, is that Oklahoma is coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium in 2024. I really hoped we would get whoever it was going to be, Texas or Oklahoma, they'd be coming to Auburn. I desperately want to go to Norman or Austin whenever Auburn goes out there. but I was really hoping the first, we get to welcome in one of these their first year. I think that I really, really wanted us to play Texas. I wanted us to have Texas the first year. But the more I think about it, the more I'm excited about Oklahoma coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah, it's fun either way. Look, it's something new. It's exciting. We get to have first crack in our home stadium at one of the two. So you really kind of look at it, and if you're like me and Austin who wanted Texas more than Oklahoma, you kind of look at it and you go, okay, well, we can't get everything we want. This is a pretty nice way to get things started with these two new opponents.
Right.
So love that fact of it. The other big things, and you've touched on them, the rivalries, the important ones have been maintained, the most important ones. Iron Bowl wasn't going anywhere, but people were concerned that Georgia and Auburn would go away for 2024, at least on an annual basis. That's not the case until we'll talk about 2025 when it gets here. I don't think it's safe, folks.
Yeah.
A couple of things to talk about here. When you talked about who had to leave the schedule and who might come into the schedule outside of Oklahoma and Texas, a lot of people were hoping somehow, some way for a Florida matchup. I was one of those.
Same.
And what that meant, even without that, you had to lose somebody. No more Tiger Bowl every single year. Auburn and LSU, the annual rivalry, which is a rivalry, it's developed into that, is no more. Are you disappointed? Thoughts about that?
Because I'll lump it, and not as much of a rivalry, but I'll lump in the Mississippi schools with this because they're not on the schedule either. When we talked about preserving traditional rival, like we weren't going to play the West again. It wasn't going to be like we're having the annual West every year with the way this is happening. It's just not feasible. And so I think that I've come to grips with that wasn't going to happen. To see all three of them not on there is strange.
It is.
But as you mentioned, someone had to go. And I think A&M not being on there wouldn't have hurt as much, or not. I don't want to say it hurts because we're going to play them again. And, a year off of LSU is not going to be the worst thing. But to not A&M is more recent, right? They're not as there's not the history. And so I think that wouldn't have been as bad. Arkansas the same way, while there's been some tension between Auburn and Arkansas.
Tension's putting it lightly.
No kidding. In recent years, like it's not the same history Auburn might have with LSU or even Mississippi State or even the drama with Ole Miss in the last few years. So it stinks to not see them, but I remind myself continually they're going to be on the schedule. It's just not for 2024. It's not like we're never going to see Auburn go down to Baton Rouge again or have Ole Miss coming to Jordan-Hare. So it'll all be okay. It's fun to see, Vanderbilt. I'm not upset about getting Vanderbilt for a second year in a row next year. And then, we don't see Kentucky as much. But I'm with you. I really was hoping somewhere between really just Kentucky and Missouri. I would not have minded at all if one of those was Florida or Tennessee, honestly. I was really bummed that we didn't get either of those on the schedule.
That's, I think, when Auburn fans look at their current opponents that we see every year, we have always longed for some type of more annual, more recent, more regular.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was searching for vocabulary there. I couldn't, I do have a college degree from Auburn. I wasn't in I can't even talk. Wow. All right. Moving on. We were hoping for Tennessee. We were hoping for Florida. And then when you see the Mississippi schools gone completely with LSU, it's kind of like, did we really gain something here? I mean, so it's not anything to complain about. No. We are getting something new, something fresh. We're maintaining the most important things, but we're still, as Auburn fans, and I think especially Florida fans echo this. Every time I talk to a Florida fan, they say this too. We want that game back. There is regionally, historically, and so whether it gets fixed in 2025 remains to be seen. But that's, if I'm talking about the biggest mistake or biggest thing that didn't happen for 2024 Auburn SEC schedule, it's the lack of Florida.
Yeah, and well, let's be honest too. This schedule is good for Auburn. Like, this is not, I saw someone put it this way. This might not be an easier, quote unquote, schedule for Auburn, but everyone else is a little more evened out now. Auburn's still got to go to Alabama and to Georgia. Like, let's
Yeah.
not put it lightly. This is still a
those of you that are complaining that we got Vanderbilt, like away opponents, fans of other opponents that are saying you got it easy with Vanderbilt and Missouri. Do you see where we got to go?
Way past due that we even this thing out. So I'm not complaining about schedule, but I put LSU with Florida and Tennessee in that secondary rivalry for Auburn that I just would have liked to just replace one of them with. You know, it'll be okay because we're going to get them back. And, you know, if we do things this way where let's just say this is the slate we have 1 year and we have the slate the next year, well, then we'll get Florida and Tennessee both in 1 year. And the good thing is, as we've talked about before, we're going to get these matchups more, and that's how it should be. So I'm good either way, but I was hoping to see one of them on this 2024 slate.
Yeah, there's going to be things that you don't like about this. There's going to be things that you do like about this. The important thing to remember is this is for 2024. This is not this is not the holistic change. Now, they may decide that this is what has to happen going forward, and then we may have to have a further discussion. But for now, this is what you need to look forward to for the first year of the new SEC, basically becoming the SEC South, the SEC and the Southwestern Conference is what I think we should be moving towards at some point. But either way, we are excited for the change. We'll miss LSU. We will miss Ole Miss. We will. Wow, that's a little a little fun way of saying that. There, we'll miss Mississippi State, not the Cowbells, but we will miss playing them every single year in some way. But we look forward to a new year and a new season, and we'll be breaking that down much, much more as it gets closer and closer.